Hello and welcome to the Soulful Shift podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking all about leadership presence, and we're going to go deep today. It is such an important topic. You are going to be hearing about it more and more. The concept of leadership presence or executive presence has been around for a very long time. It's nothing new. However, you will be hearing more and more about it now and moving forward. I have said this in many of my episodes, and I will continue to keep beating this drum because it's so important to hear. The world is not the same as it used to be. What used to work doesn't work anymore. Leadership presence is becoming more and more relevant and important. If you want to get ahead in your career, if you want a promotion, a pay raise, if you want to lead a team, a department, a company, and actually, I'm going to take it a step further and say, if you want to get anywhere in life, because the world has changed and what used to work doesn't work anymore. And leadership presence is one of the most important things you are going to want to learn about and know how to embody and become somebody who has leadership presence. So, in this conversation today, I'm going to explain what it is exactly. And it's going to take a whole bunch of different turns, okay? Because it's actually a really huge topic. This is what I teach my clients in my one-on-one programs. And I work with clients for months on end. Some clients I have had with me for multiple years. That's how far and deep we are going with this topic. But the people who actually can embody this and become the true sovereign leader, which is what this is about, are the ones who are going to be moving forward now and in the future. So think of this really as the tip of the iceberg. And if it sounds like a lot when you hear it for the first time, re-listen to this episode because there's going to be a lot of layers to this that start to come in, but I'm going to do my best to make this as concise as I can, but there's going to be a lot of different, almost different roadways I'm going to take. So, what is leadership presence? I want you to think about the word presence, first of all, just in of itself, just in isolation. What does that mean to you? And I want you to just think about that for a moment. What does it actually mean to you? When you think about the word presence, what I want you to think about is what is behind the word presence. Okay. Presence has nothing to do with action. Okay. It has nothing to do with the output, what you're doing, the tasks, the action you're taking in the physical world. Presence at its core has to do with your energy. Now, I love this topic because where we're at in this world right now is we have been taught that energy is not important. We haven't really been taught about energy, to be honest with you. We've just been taught it's all about our action. It's all about what we're doing. But the truth of the matter is your energy is everything. It is absolutely everything. Is energy first, and then you take action. You always need to be taking action in this world, 100%. But the energetic frequency, the state with which you take action and how you show up in this world and how you lead and how you do everything is actually more important than the action that you take. Somebody who has the correct energetic alignment, presence, can do 3 tasks and get more done with somebody with out of alignment energy and does 100 tasks. That's how important it is. It's not linear. It's actually exponential, how much more you can get done when your energy is correct and when it's right. This is why this topic is so important right now. The world is not the same as it used to be, and we can no longer ignore energy. And what I find so fascinating is I was in corporate for over 20 years as a CPA. And in that time, and also in the work I am doing now, the top leaders have known this for a very long time. The funny thing is, though, is they're not always conscious that they're reading energy and they're mindful of their energy because energy has been seen such a woo-woo word. There's terms that we have used in the corporate system that talk about energy. Well, presence is one of them. That's just a corporate way of saying energy. When you talk about things like intuition, which is reading energy, you've heard things maybe like, what do your spidey senses say? What does your gut tell you? Those are just corporate speak for intuition. What do your instincts say? The corporate system has been using energy, and the top leaders have been knowing this for a very long time. There's only a couple of leaders when I worked in corporate that I really, really respected, truly respected, to have sovereign leadership. And they both understood this. They both understood energy. And that's what we see in this world. The ones who actually get ahead and move forward are the ones who do understand their energy. So when I talk about leadership presence, leadership energy, and I'm just going to use the word term leadership energy moving forward in this video because it really connects you back to the fact that this is all about energy. Energy is not something you can fake, okay? It's just who you are. So to change your leadership energy means you actually have to change who you are. That's the only way to do it. Everyone wants to know, how do I do it? Like, tell me how to have more leadership energy. What tasks do I have to do? It's not about that at all. Leadership energy has to do with who you are being. And to have leadership presence, you must, and you must be leading yourself first. Everyone wants to know, how do I lead others? We shouldn't even be asking that question. The question we should be asking is, how do I lead myself fully? Not how do I lead myself within a system that wants me to be a follower, which is what the corporate system was, and it's crumbling now. But how do I lead myself in full sovereignty? How do I lead myself to be a sovereign being? That's the question you need to ask yourself. And to be able to answer that question and be able to move forward and lead yourself as a sovereign being, you must know yourself. Most people in this world don't know a thing about themselves because we've been told in this world how you should think, how you should feel, how you should respond. The world we have created right now is one where it tells you everything. The news does not report facts. It says, this is our view of the story, and this is how we want you to feel about it. That is the system we have created. Same in the corporate system. We have to see it, not blame it. We just have to see it very clearly. That's what's been happening. So what's happened is most people have completely disconnected from really realizing who they really are. But to be a leader, you have to know who you are. And you must start listening to yourself. Instead of listening to the outside world telling you how you should think, how you should feel, how you should respond, how you should do everything, it's asking yourself, how do I feel about this? What do I want to do? And then trusting that answer that you receive. Because what happens over time, and this is not a one and done, there isn't just all of a sudden one step you can take. This is every single day. This is consistency. Every single time you ask yourself questions, you listen to yourself, and you stay present with yourself, okay? You build trust in yourself. This is everything. I cannot say this and I cannot stress this enough. This is everything because this world has taught you not to trust yourself. This world has taught you to trust everyone outside of you. The news knows better. Your boss knows better. The government knows better. Sovereignty is when you realize that you're it, you're everything. And you listen to yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's scary, even when everybody else is saying something different. You listen to yourself. Once you begin to build that trust, you become more secure in yourself. You start to have your own back. You don't look for the rest of the world to have your back. You have your own back. And you then become, over time, become so secure in who you are. The world can tell you anything. The world can tell you anything it wants to. The world can go to chaos. Like literally, things can be going in mayhem. And you have spent time listening and trusting to yourself that you're solid, you're certain. You're like, I can handle anything because you've built this resilience inside of you. This is about turning inward. Ironically, leadership presence and leadership at its core is actually about turning inward, not how do I get people to do things. Because what happens as you do this over time, continually, consistently, is you no longer collapse. What we've seen in the world to this point in the corporate system is leaders performing leadership. So they're not actually leaders. And so when the world has gotten so volatile over the last number of years, okay, very volatile, very chaotic, is they've all collapsed. They can't handle it. They're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And they're all collapsing. And how do I hustle? And how do we pivot? Oh, we're going to lay off people. We've got to do all this stuff. Instead of, we'll figure this out. Why wouldn't we? We figured everything else out. What's the next step? Having leadership is having certainty, not in, okay, this is important, not in one particular plan, one particular idea, one particular person, one particular concept. It is having certainty in yourself. Because when you do that, you can face absolutely anything. Your trust is in yourself, not in everything around you. And people are drawn to that because you become incredibly stable. That's what leadership presence is. It's the eye of the storm. It doesn't matter what everybody else is saying. We see so many companies now that are scrambling, we're not going to stay, relevant without AI and all this stuff. We're looking at all these excuses and all these people who can't get jobs, who can't get ahead. We have all these excuses we've built up. But the truth of the matter is, do you actually trust yourself? Are you actually secure in who you are? Fully and deeply. Because until you do, the rest of it, you're just going to be scrambling and hustling and chasing. Leadership presence is it being about certain in who you are. So then, when a storm comes, you're solid. And there's a piece of that that's really important as well. The leader who has leadership presence, fully embodied, who's a sovereign leader, can admit mistakes. And this is one of the biggest gaps we see in leadership right now. Leaders who cannot admit mistakes. The reason why they can't, because they're insecure. Their ego is so fragile. Who can stand there and fully own something and say, I'm not really sure what to do. But you know what? I'm here and we'll figure it out. It's all figure outable. That is what leadership presence is, what we have right now at all layers of the world, the government, corporate systems. Doesn't matter what layer of management you have. As soon as something goes off the rails, we have management blaming people, blaming the economy, blaming so many different things, not standing solid and true and going, you know what? This isn't great, but we'll figure it out. We've gotten through things before. That's leadership. I'm going to give you an example of this. When I was in corporate, I was learning all of this in corporate, right? I awakened in the corporate system. I started waking up 20 years ago. And I remember when I was in corporate once and we had this project and it went off the rails big time. And I was a CPA, okay? So I was in finance and I worked with operations. And there was a project operations was working on and it really went off the rails. There were these pivots they had to do. Costs were astronomical. We got to the end of it and the project completed, but it was so over budget. It was crazy. And, there's that feeling in the organization like, oh crap, like our head's going to roll, that whole thing. And I was watching this. Of course, I'm in finance. I'm just reporting all the numbers and I'm going through all this and figuring this all out and helping the teams figure out what, where everything was and analyzing all the numbers. And senior management came down hard on a lot of the team members. And I watched this and morale was so low. People were angry. They're like, And the sentiment was that leadership hasn't taken, like the senior leadership hasn't taken any accountability. They weren't present. They weren't available when we needed them. And there was a lot of mistrust that was created. It was a bad situation. And I remember I was talking to one of the senior managers and leaders, and we were having a whole meeting about this in person. People flew in from everywhere to talk about this. And I said to him, I said, people need to hear you take responsibility. They need to hear you take it. And I coached him through all of this. I mean, I was in finance, but I coached people because this is who I am. And up to that point, he was a fairly, I would say, stable and certain leader. But when push came to shove in the meeting, he didn't apologize. He didn't say, I'm sorry, I didn't have your back. He didn't do any of it. He didn't do any of it. He stuck to his story of somebody is responsible for this and you need to figure this out. And, after that, things were never the same. I watched people, things never returned. And at the time I was like, I couldn't understand it. I'm like, why wouldn't he just admit he made a mistake, right? And at the time I hadn't dug deep enough into this work to realize in the good times, he was performing leadership. He could be certain, he could be stable, he could be all those things. But as soon as things got real, it crumbled. He wasn't secure enough in his leadership and who he was to be able to stand there in front of a group and say, hey, I messed up. I want to work with you. And I apologize. I wasn't there for you as a leader that I needed to be. And he lost it from there. He lost respect. He completely lost it all. And like I said at the time, I was like, why wouldn't he just do this? Like, come on, dude, I have the answer here for you, right? And it was the learning I had to realize too that, he didn't have sovereign leadership. He wasn't a sovereign leader. He was a manager in a system performing leadership. But he never got further in his career. He eventually retired, but he never got further. And this is what's happening right now. So the leader who's able to stand up and say, I made a mistake and not collapse. This is leadership presence. When everything goes wrong, you do not collapse, you do not lie, you do not blame, you do not any of this. Because here's the thing. The reason why we've been taught to do this is there's a risk. If I take responsibility, I might be out. But if you don't take responsibility, you still might be out. You just might not advance anymore in your career, might not get ahead. You might lose the respect to your team and your career plummets anyways. I watched it with this particular person. So if right now you are wanting to get ahead or lead a team or lead a company, the way forward is you connecting back to you leading you every single day when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable. I had a conversation with my daughter the other day and I said to her, my daughters are 19 and 21 and they're just learning, to adult, right? So I'm having those conversations with them about being an adult and leadership. I'm so glad I'm in this position to be able to share this wisdom with them. But I said to one of my daughters, the people that are going to get ahead now and moving forward are the ones who can actually face so much, stay steady in who they are and not collapse. These are the people that are going to be moving forward. They're not bypassing. This is not about bypassing because you cannot fake energy. You can't actually fake leadership presence or executive presence. These are the people that can actually take on all this stuff and stay fully in who they are and not collapse. This is what the corporate system is looking for. And this is what you can do. So starting now, in this moment, start finding little ways to just even connect with yourself. When you see something going on at work, instead of just buying what you're being taught or what you're being sold or what somebody's being said to you or somebody's saying to you, instead ask yourself, how do I actually feel about this? Truly, how do I feel about this? What is my sense about this? What are my instincts telling me? What is my intuition telling me? And it can be completely different to what you're being told, because the corporate system was built on distortion. So there's a lot of distortion within it. Ask yourself, how do I feel about that? And listen to yourself and start trusting yourself. You don't have to tell anybody about this right now. You don't have to share any of this or get anybody to see what you see. This is an inward journey now. So it's looking inward and listening to yourself and not needing to have outside validation, because leadership, sovereign leadership at its true essence, at its true core, does not require validation. So start this now. All right, beautiful soul. I hope this was super helpful. I'm actually going to be doing a masterclass very soon. I'm going to be putting the details below on the next episode. But if you're somebody who's waking up in corporate right now and you're like, how do I actually move forward more with this? Like, how do I actually now play within this new system? How do I actually do this? I'm going to be diving more into it, into a masterclass. I don't have everything all set up to be able to share the details with you, but it will be coming soon. And if you are interested in this, send me an email or send me a message on LinkedIn and just BS, and I can send you the details as soon as I have the page all set up for you to sign up for. It is going to be something that you sign up beforehand, but I'm going to be diving deep into a lot of what I'm talking about here, coming at it from a different angle. But if you've basically woken up in corporate and you're going, okay, like now what? Like, how do I actually navigate myself within this system to create success? This is going to absolutely be for you. And I'm actually really excited for this. So I hope this episode was super helpful, and I will talk to you soon.